The year was 2145. Humanity had changed. Technology had grown faster than anyone imagined. There were colonies on Mars, mining stations on Jupiter's moons, and giant orbital cities above Earth. But the greatest discovery of all was the Gateway. A massive portal floating in orbit around Saturn. It wasn't built by humans. No one on Earth even understood how it worked when it was first found. But everyone knew one thing: it wasn't from this galaxy. When scientists activated the Gateway, they opened a path to something far greater: the Galactic Council. A vast network of alien civilizations, thousands of years older than humanity, waited on the other side. At first, Earth was welcomed with smiles and promises. Ambassadors came from across the stars. They called humanity a young species with great potential. They offered technology, medicine, faster ships, but there was a price. At first, the demands were small: share energy resources, trade, rare metals, allow alien observers on human colonies. Earth agreed. The Council promised peaceful cooperation. But peace never lasts forever. For the first time in history, all nations on Earth came together under a single banner: the United Earth Directorate. At its head was President Amina Solari, a woman known for her intelligence and calm under pressure. Alongside her was Admiral Hayes, commander of the Earth Defense Fleet, a man who had fought pirates, rogue AI rebellions, and colony uprisings. At first, Hayes believed in the Council. He thought the aliens wanted peace, but something about them felt wrong, and he was right. The Council's requests slowly became demands. "You will hand over control of the Gateway," their transmission said. "You will provide plasma, resources from Jupiter's moons. You will accept our security forces on your orbital stations." If Earth refused, the Council warned, they would reconsider humanity's place in the galactic community. That was their polite way of saying obey or face consequences. In a hidden meeting deep inside the Orion Command Center, President Solari sat across from Admiral Hayes. "John," she said quietly, her voice heavy, "if we refuse their latest demand, they'll send ships." "They'll send ships anyway," Hayes replied coldly. "Every concession we make only makes us weaker. This isn't diplomacy anymore, it's control." At the far end of the table, Dr. Elena Voss, one of the leading scientists studying the Gateway, placed a datapad on the table. "I've decrypted part of the Council's transmissions," she said. "This isn't about resources. They've been mapping our fleet strength, our colonies, even our defense grids." Solari's expression darkened. "Preparing for war?" Voss hesitated, then nodded. "Or worse, preparing to take control." The next day, the Council sent another message. A massive holographic projection filled the skies above the United Earth headquarters. An alien figure appeared, tall and slender, with pale grey skin and glowing golden eyes. Its voice was calm, almost soothing, but the meaning of its words was deadly. "Humans of soul," it said, "the Gateway is now under the authority of the Galactic Council. You will surrender command codes immediately. Refusal will be seen as hostile intent." Panic spread across Earth's networks. News channels replayed the alien broadcast 1,000,000 times. People gathered in streets, shouting, debating, afraid. Some believed Earth should obey. Others demanded resistance. For the first time since humanity joined the Council, the possibility of war became real. That night, Admiral Hayes stood aboard the ESS Horizon, Earth's largest battle carrier, as it drifted silently above the planet. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewing deck, but his mind was elsewhere. The Gateway hung like a giant glowing ring in the distance, beautiful and mysterious. But Hayes knew what waited beyond it: fleets of alien warships, each capable of wiping out entire continents. Beside him, Commander Ryan Ibarra, his second in command, spoke quietly. "Sir, if they come through, we won't hold them off for long." Hayes didn't answer right away. He watched the stars, thinking about everything humanity had built, the colonies, the cities, the dreams of peace. Finally, he said, "Then we make sure they never come through at all." Back on Earth, President Solari addressed the United Earth Council. Representatives from every nation gathered in the massive chamber, their voices loud and angry. Some screamed for cooperation, others demanded war. Finally, Solari raised her hand, silencing the room. "If we give them the gateway," she said slowly, "we give them Earth. Make no mistake, we become their colony." Her words echoed through the chamber. For the first time, humanity faced a choice that would decide its future: surrender or resist. Then something unexpected happened. Dr. Voss, working late in her lab, detected an unusual signal coming from the gateway. It wasn't coming from the Council. It was inside the gateway's systems. She adjusted her scanners, her heart racing. A message appeared on her console. It wasn't from humans. It wasn't from the Council. It was something else. The text read, "Close the gateway or humanity will not survive." Voss froze. Who or what had sent it? Before she could react, the entire gateway began to glow brighter, pulses of blue energy rippling across space. Sensors picked up movement on the other side. Admiral Hayes received the alert immediately. "Sir," Ibarra said, his voice tight, "multiple unknown contacts are forming beyond the gateway. Massive energy readings." Hayes looked out at the distant ring of light, his jaw tightening. "They're not waiting anymore," he said quietly. "They're coming." And just like that, the countdown began. Earth had days, maybe hours, before alien ships crossed. Into human space, the leaders gathered, scientists worked through the night, and fleets prepared for the worst-case scenario. But deep inside the gateway, something stirred. Something older than the Council. Something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The silence over Earth did not last long. The Council's latest demand, full control of the gateway, had shaken humanity's leaders. But far away, beyond the speeches and politics, something darker was happening. Dr. Elena Voss sat alone in her lab, her eyes locked on the encrypted data she had stolen from the Galactic Council's network. For 3 nights she hadn't slept. For 3 nights she decoded fragments of alien transmissions, fragments the Council never intended humans to see. What she discovered was worse than she imagined. The Council's official reports spoke of peaceful integration and mutual prosperity. But the hidden files told another story, one about Project Dominion. According to the documents, the Council's real plan wasn't just to control the gateway. They were preparing to rewrite humanity itself. They wanted to change Earth's genetic code. They wanted control of every human mind. Dr. Voss stared at the alien symbols glowing on her screen, her heart pounding faster. And then she saw something strange, a warning, written in an unknown language buried deep in the code. It wasn't from the Council. It wasn't even from this galaxy. Translated, the message read, "The Council serves a hidden master. The gateway is not what you think." Meanwhile, Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, reviewing tactical reports. Earth's fleets were preparing for a potential conflict, but Hayes knew the truth. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. Commander Ibarra approached, carrying a holoslate. "Sir, our deep scanners just detected something unusual behind the gateway. Energy readings, unlike anything we've seen before." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "Council ships?" Ibarra hesitated, lowering his voice. "Not exactly. These signatures don't match any known alien fleet." Hayes frowned. Something else was behind the gateway, something even the Council wasn't talking about. That night, President Elena Solari called an emergency meeting in the Orion Command Center. The room was silent as Dr. Voss presented her findings. She projected the alien documents in the air, lines of glowing symbols spinning above the table. "This is not just about resources," Voss said firmly. "The Council has been lying. They don't just want control of the gateway, they want control of us. Humanity's independence is already at risk." Solari leaned forward, her voice steady. "How much time do we have before they act?" Voss shook her head slowly. "I don't know, but the encrypted message I found suggests the gateway itself may be a trap. Something far more powerful controls it from the shadows." The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Hayes broke it. "Then, we shut the gateway before they use it against us," one of the council members shouted. "We can't! Closing the gateway means cutting ourselves off from hundreds of colonies and trade routes. The economic collapse would be immediate." Hayes slammed his hand against the table. "And letting them control it means we lose everything. Our freedom, our future, even our DNA. If we do nothing, Earth becomes another slave world." Hayes frowned. Something else was behind the gateway, something even the Council wasn't talking about. That night, President Amina Solari called an emergency meeting in the Orion Command Center. The room was silent as Dr. Voss presented her findings. She projected the alien documents in the air, lines of glowing symbols spinning above the table. "This is not just about resources," Voss said firmly. "The Council has been lying. They don't just want control of the gateway. They want control of us. Humanity's independence is already at risk." Solari leaned forward, her voice steady. "How much time do we have before they act?" Voss shook her head slowly. "I don't know, but the encrypted message I found suggests the gateway itself may be a trap. Something far more powerful controls it from the shadows." The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Hayes broke it. "Then we shut the gateway before they use it against us," one of the council members shouted. "We can't! Closing the gateway means cutting ourselves off from hundreds of colonies and trade routes. The economic collapse would be immediate." Hayes slammed his hand against the table. "And letting them control it means we lose everything. Our freedom, our future, even our DNA. If we do nothing, Earth becomes another slave world." A voice, neither male nor female, echoed across every communication channel in the system. "Access denied. Unauthorized entities detected. Initiating containment. Protocol." Before anyone could react, a massive gravitational shockwave erupted from the gateway, knocking every ship, Earth's, Council's, and the mysterious newcomers violently off course. Shields failed, systems overloaded, and crews were thrown from their stations. "Status report," Hayes shouted over the alarms. "Total power loss on decks 4 and 5, an officer yelled. "Half our drones are offline. Hull damage on multiple carriers. We're dead in the water." But Earth's forces weren't the only ones in trouble. Several Council ships spiraled out of control, colliding with each other, while the mysterious fleet scattered into evasive maneuvers. Yet, somehow, none of them fired on Earth. Dr. Voss stared at the central display, her voice shaking. "Admiral, the gateway isn't just a transportation system, it's a weapon. And now it knows we're here." Hayes looked at her, his expression grim. "Then we're standing inside the barrel." Before anyone could speak again, a new alert blared. Across the deck, thousands of energy signatures were building on the other side of the gateway. Commander Ibarra's face went pale. "Sir, we're detecting another incoming fleet. This one's even bigger." Hayes clenched his fists. "Whose ships are they?" The sensors tried to identify them but failed. Unknown, no match found. And yet, Dr. Voss recognized something. In the energy pattern, her voice dropped to a whisper. "They're not Council. They're not with the others. Whoever's coming, they're the ones who built the gateway." For the first time, silence fell on the Horizon's deck. No one moved, no one breathed. Then the gateway flared again, brighter than before. The light swallowed the entire battlefield, and then everything went dark. The silence in space was unnatural. After the blinding flash from the gateway, every ship, Earth's, the Council's, and the mysterious fleets floated quietly, their systems struggling to recover. For a few moments, the battlefield felt frozen, as though the universe itself had stopped breathing. Then, slowly, the Horizon systems came back online. Dim emergency lights flickered to life across the deck. Admiral Hayes gripped the edge of the command table, his vision still adjusting from the burst of light. "Status," he ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. Commander Ibarra scanned the displays. Shields offline, weapons at 40%, engines unstable but functional. He hesitated before adding, "And sir, the gateway's readings are changing. It's alive." Dr. Elena Voss turned sharply. "Alive? What do you mean?" Ibarra shook his head, his face pale. "It's transmitting something, not to us, to itself." Before anyone could react, the ship's speakers crackled with an eerie sound. A voice, cold and mechanical, filled the air. "Containment breach detected. Non-compliant species identified. Initiating reset protocol." The command deck went silent. Hayes exchanged a tense look with Voss. "That's not the Council." Voss's eyes widened as she checked the scanner logs. "Admiral, this isn't an external transmission. The signal is coming from inside the gateway. Something's waking up." The voice returned, louder this time, reverberating through every channel across the system. Protocol 7 engaged, preparing for total system isolation. Estimated time to closure, 22 minutes. "What does that mean?" Ibarra asked. Voss's voice trembled. "It means the gateway's locking itself down, and if my calculations are right, it's going to collapse the wormhole entirely." Hayes frowned. "And what happens to anyone near it when it does?" Voss hesitated, then whispered, "They don't survive." The realization spread across the deck like a shadow. If the gateway collapsed, everything nearby, fleets, colonies, stations, would be swallowed into nothingness. The Council ships, regaining control, began transmitting on open frequencies. Their lead commander's voice thundered across the void. "Humans, surrender your control codes immediately. Deactivate your interference or you will perish with us." Hayes ignored them, focusing instead on Voss. "Options?" Voss exhaled, shakily. "We have two. Either we shut down the gateway core manually, or we let it finish what it's doing and hope we survive." Ibarra turned sharply. "That's not a plan." "It's all we've got," Voss snapped back. "But there's more. The gateway isn't acting randomly. It's responding to a command." Hayes stiffened. "From who?" Voss hesitated, then lowered her voice. "From its creators." Hayes leaned in. "You mean whoever built this thing?" She nodded slowly. "And I think they're coming." As if on cue, the mysterious second fleet, the one with ancient signatures, suddenly broke formation. Their ships began releasing strange pulses of energy, forming a shimmering barrier around the gateway. The Council opened fire on them instantly, but their attacks had no effect. Hayes watched in silence. "They're protecting it, or trying to contain it," Voss replied. "Those ships, they're older than the Council by thousands of years. If they built the gateway, it means they've been guarding it all this time." "Guarding it from what?" Ibarra asked quietly. Before anyone could answer, the AI's voice spoke again, louder and more forceful. "Unauthorized entities detected. Security override denied. Access restricted to primordial signatures only." Voss's hands froze over the console. "Primordial signatures," she whispered. "That's what it called them. Those ships, the Second Fleet. They're the only ones it recognizes." Suddenly, the gateway erupted again, its massive rings shifting and folding into a new configuration. A deep crimson glow spread across its surface as energy spirals formed around it, like storms of light. Then the scanners lit up with a new alert. "Admiral," Ibarra said, his voice trembling, "I'm detecting movement on the other side of the gateway. Thousands of contacts, huge ones." Hayes stepped closer to the display. "Are they Council reinforcements?" Voss shook her head. "No, the energy readings don't match the Council or the Second Fleet. These are something else entirely." The mysterious fleet suddenly transmitted a short message, this time directly to the horizon. Voss translated it instantly. "Do not engage the gateway. Do not attempt control. If it awakens fully, none of us will survive." Hayes stared at the message, then at the swirling chaos unfolding in front of him. "It's already awake," he said grimly. "And we're running out of time." As if in response, the gateway began to pull everything toward it. A low, deep rumble echoed across the comms as gravitational waves tore through the battlefield. Smaller Council ships were dragged in and crushed instantly, their wreckage vanishing into the vortex. Hayes gritted his teeth. "Engines to maximum. Thrust! Pull us back now!" The Horizon's hull groaned as it fought the pull. Sparks rained from overhead conduits, alarms blared, and officers struggled to hold their stations. But it was no use. The gateway's power was increasing too quickly. Voss grabbed Hayes's arm. "If we don't disable the core, Admiral, it's going to consume the entire system." Hayes didn't hesitate this time. "Then we go in." The deck went silent. Ibarra stared at him, stunned. "Sir, that's suicide." "Maybe," Hayes replied, his voice low but certain. "But if we don't, humanity dies anyway." As the Horizon turned toward the gateway, the Second Fleet moved aside, opening a path. It was almost as if they were expecting humanity to enter. Hayes clenched his fists and gave the order, "Prepare the infiltration team. We're boarding the gateway." At that moment, the AI spoke one last time, its voice echoing across every ship. "Final warning. Accessing the core will awaken." "The Warden!" The comms fell silent. No one knew what the Warden was, but they were about to find out. The ESS Horizon drifted slowly toward the colossal gateway, its massive glowing rings rotating in eerie silence. The entire battlefield behind them was chaos. Council. Wreckage floating, disabled drones spinning endlessly, and the mysterious Second Fleet holding position like silent guardians. Yet none of them moved to stop the Horizon. Inside the command deck, Admiral Hayes stood in his armored suit, helmet clipped to his side, while Dr. Elena Voss checked the infiltration gear one last time. The infiltration team consisted of 6 specialists, all equipped with advanced exosuits designed to withstand extreme gravity and radiation levels. Commander Ibarra glanced uneasily at the growing structure on the display. "Sir, I still think this is madness. We don't know what's inside that thing. We don't even know if it's safe for humans." Hayes looked at him, calm and steady. "If we stay out here, we die. If we shut it down, maybe we live. I'll take those odds." Voss activated her wrist console and projected a scan of the gateway's inner structure. Strange tunnels spiraled through its interior, but the deeper they went, the fuzzier the scans became. At the very center was something the sensors couldn't penetrate, a void of pure energy. "That's where the core is," Voss said quietly. "If the AI controls everything, that's where we'll find it." The infiltration shuttle detached from the Horizon and drifted toward the massive glowing entrance at the base of the gateway's ring. As they approached, the walls seemed to shift, twisting with an unnatural fluidity, as though the structure itself was alive. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered Sergeant Kwan, one of the squad's combat engineers. "It's like it's watching us." Voss didn't respond. She was staring at the readings on her wrist console, her brow furrowed. "That's because it is." Before anyone could ask what she meant, the shuttle crossed the threshold, entering the gateway's interior. The moment they passed through, all external comms went dead. No signals in or out. Inside, there was no sound, No hum of engines, no static from comms, nothing but an unnatural silence. The walls glowed faintly with pulsating symbols, alien glyphs that shifted and rearranged themselves as the team moved forward. "Stay sharp," Hayes ordered, his voice low. "Weapons hot." As they moved deeper, the silence broke. A sudden, metallic voice echoed through the tunnels, calm but cold. Unauthorized presence detected, security protocols engaged. Before they could react, the walls around them shifted violently, splitting open as tall humanoid constructs emerged. They were unlike any machine humanity had ever seen. Towering metallic forms with elongated limbs, their faces smooth and featureless except for a single glowing red eye. "Contact!" Quan shouted, opening fire. Plasma rounds tore through the air, striking the constructs, but the impacts barely slowed them down. One of the machines lunged forward, its arm transforming into a blade of pure energy. Hayes grabbed a heavy rifle from his shoulder and fired a concentrated shot directly into the nearest construct's chest. The blast knocked it back, tearing a hole through its frame. It collapsed, sparking and twitching on the ground, but 3 more stepped forward to replace it. "They just keep coming," Ibarra yelled over the comms. Voss typed furiously on her. Console, scanning the machines. "They're part of the Gateway's defense system. They're not trying to kill us. They're trying to stop us from reaching the core." Hayes fired again, taking down another construct. "Well, they're failing at both." After several minutes of intense fighting, the last of the constructs fell. The team moved deeper into the tunnel, their breathing heavy, armor scorched from the battle. Then they reached it, a massive chamber at the center of the gateway. Floating in the middle was the core, a sphere of shifting light, its surface swirling like liquid metal. Energy arcs spiraled out from it, touching the walls and feeding power to the entire structure. Voss stepped forward slowly, her eyes wide in awe. "This isn't just a machine," she whispered. "It's a mind." Suddenly, the AI's voice returned, louder than before, vibrating through their suits. Final warning. Access restricted. Awakening. The Warden. Hayes raised his weapon, scanning the chamber. "What the hell is the Warden?" Then the core began to change. The swirling light stretched and expanded, forming a humanoid shape several meters tall. Its body was made of pure energy, with streams of data cascading around it like living armor. 2 piercing white lights flared where its eyes should be. The figure turned its gaze toward the team. "Intruders detected," it said, its voice deep and layered, as though 1,000 voices spoke in unison. "Protocol Alpha initiated. Neutralization. Required." The ground shook violently, and the energy sphere around the Warden pulsed with blinding light. "Hayes!" Voss shouted. "That thing controls the entire gateway network. If we destroy it, we shut everything down." Hayes tightened his grip on his rifle, staring at the towering being. "And if we fail?" Voss hesitated. "Then the Warden will erase us. All of us." Hayes exhaled slowly, his voice calm but firm. "Then we don't fail." As the Warden raised its massive hand, the chamber filled with a deafening hum, and arcs of energy lashed across the walls. The Horizon's infiltration team braced themselves as the first strike came, knowing that the battle for humanity's survival had just begun. This part introduces the Warden, the Gateway's ultimate defense mechanism, and sets up an intense confrontation for the next chapter. We now have all the pieces in motion: the Gateway AI, the mysterious ancient fleet, the Council and humanity, heading toward a massive climax. The Gateway's core chamber shook violently as the Warden stood before them, its towering energy form radiating blinding white light. Every movement sent ripples of power through the walls, making the ground tremble beneath the infiltration team's boots. Admiral Hayes tightened his grip on the rail rifle, his breathing steady but tense. The creature didn't move at first. It simply observed them, its piercing lights burning into their suits as though reading their thoughts. Dr. Elena Voss was furiously typing on her wrist console, trying to scan its energy patterns. Her voice was shaky. "Admiral, this isn't just a defense program, it's a guardian. It was built to protect something inside the gateway." Hayes didn't look away from the warden. "Protect what?" Before she could answer, the warden spoke again, its voice deep and layered, echoing like thunder inside their minds. "Unauthorized species, you have breached the heart of the network. The protocol forbids your presence. Retreat or be erased." Sergeant Kwan muttered under his breath, "I don't think talking's going to help us, sir." Hayes raised his weapon, stepping forward. "Listen to me. Earth is under attack. If you don't shut this down, the Council will use the gateway to enslave my people. We are not your enemy." The warden tilted its head slightly as though analyzing his words. Then its body pulsed with brighter energy. "The Council are trespassers like you. Their war is meaningless. Your kind has awoken forces you do not understand." Voss stepped closer, her voice urgent. "Then help us. Shut down the gateway before they destroy us all." The warden paused for a moment before answering. "I am bound by the Prime Directive. The gateway must remain functional. It is the lock. The key approaches." Hayes frowned deeply. "The key? What the hell does that mean?" Before Voss could respond, the chamber's alarms screamed to life. Outside, sensors detected thousands of new energy signatures on the other side of the gateway. Massive objects, bigger than any ship humanity had ever seen, were preparing to cross. Ibarra's voice crackled through the comms. "Admiral, we're detecting a colossal fleet incoming, but it's not the Council. These energy readings, they're identical to the gateway itself." Voss's face went pale. "Hayes, those are its creators." The warden turned its glowing head toward the swirling vortex at the heart of the chamber. Its voice thundered through their suits. "Containment. Breach confirmed. The architects return." Suddenly the entire gateway began to tremble. The mysterious second fleet outside, the silent guardians, formed a defensive wall, their ships moving with incredible speed and precision. They weren't here to fight humanity or the Council. They were here to stop whatever was coming. "Through." Hayes looked back at Voss, his voice low. "If the architects are coming, what happens to us?" Voss's voice broke slightly. "If they built the gateway and they locked it away, they didn't want anyone using it. That means whatever's coming, it's not supposed to be here." The warden raised its arm, and streams of data and energy shot from its body, linking with the gateway's core. The vortex flared violently, waves of gravity shaking the chamber. "This unit will execute the lockdown protocol," the warden declared. "Manual authorization required. Biological imprint needed." Voss blinked in shock. "It needs a human to activate it." Hayes understood immediately. "If we do this, we shut the gateway permanently." Voss nodded. "Yes, but it'll collapse the wormhole. Everything near it, ships, fleets, stations, will be destroyed." Hayes hesitated, looking at his team. Billions of lives on Earth depended on this choice. Behind them, they could hear the faint rumble of distant explosions as the Council and the mysterious fleet continued to exchange fire. Sergeant Kwan whispered, "Sir, if we don't do it, those things on the other side get through." Hayes glanced at Voss. "How long until they arrive?" She checked the scanner, her face pale. 2 minutes. Hayes stepped forward, placing his hand on the warden's interface. Instantly, arcs of blue energy surged through his suit, connecting him to the gateway's core. He felt everything, the fleets outside, the gravitational forces, even the presence of the incoming architects. The warden's voice thundered in his mind. "Authorization accepted. Warning, initiating lockdown will trigger core detonation. Confirm." Hayes closed his eyes and whispered, "Do it." The warden's energy flared, the entire chamber filling with blinding white light. Outside, the gateway roared to life, its massive rings accelerating faster than ever before. The Council ships tried to retreat, but it was too late. A wave of gravitational energy exploded outward, pulling everything into the collapsing vortex. The mysterious Second Fleet held their positions, sacrificing themselves to contain the energy surge. One by one, their ships vanished into the blinding light. On the horizon's deck, Ibarra shouted over the chaos, "Admiral! The gateway's collapsing. We need to get out of here now." Inside the chamber, Hayes turned back to his team, yelling through the rising roar, "Fall back! Everyone out!" The infiltration team raced back toward the shuttle as the entire structure around them began to break apart. Chunks of glowing metal and swirling energy spiraled violently, threatening to crush them at every step. As the shuttle cleared the interior, the gateway imploded, collapsing in on itself until nothing remained but silence and drifting debris. The vortex was gone. On the horizon, the command deck fell completely quiet. The alien Council fleet was destroyed. The Second Fleet had sacrificed itself. The mysterious architects never made it through. Dr. Voss stared at the empty space where the gateway once stood, her voice soft and shaken. "We survived, but we just declared war on powers we don't even understand." Hayes stood silently, watching the last embers of the gateway fade into darkness. He knew this wasn't the end. Far beyond the stars, somewhere in the void, the architects would learn what happened here, and when they came looking for answers, humanity would have to be ready.